While there are literally hundreds of reasons to be bullish on Bitcoin's future price potential, here are the 4 reasons why Bitcoin CEO Jack Mallers believes that the Bitcoin bull market has barely begun. A lot of people are wondering that if the cycle is going to be over or not, when it's going to be over. But I'm saying, what if it's never over? What if it's just starting? So Jack Mallers, as many of you know, he's a part of Zapper. He's a part of the Strike team. If you don't know who he is, he's on Twitter, now known as X. You can follow him there and see all of his wonderful tweets. This is one of them that got about 5,000 likes a few days ago, where he said, having fun, don't let fiat fool you. The party hasn't even started yet. What is he referring to specifically when he says, don't let fiat fool you? What he means is that when you price Bitcoin in harder assets like gold instead of dollars, you get a very different picture than what the Bitcoin price currently looks like, right? Obviously on your chart on your screen right now, if you're pricing in dollars, your price chart for Bitcoin looks a little different. But here's the catch. You're pricing that in terms of dollars, which are depreciating over time. When people talk about pricing Bitcoin in terms of houses, a lot of critics say, oh, that's not fair. The chart only has gone down because Bitcoin's gone up. Well, the same thing's true with dollars, right? Nobody would price Bitcoin in terms of Turkish lira or Zimbabwean currency, right? You want to price it in terms of dollars, but even the dollar declines like those less superior or those more inferior political currencies, right? And so if you price Bitcoin in terms of gold, you adjust the price down, and all of a sudden, we're not double the previous all-time high, right? The previous all-time high was like $60,000, $70,000. We could barely hold a few weeks at that all-time high back in 2021, right? And now here we are at $120,000 or more, roughly double the previous all-time high. Well, not when you factor in gold's appreciation. All of a sudden, we're not at $120,000. We're still at $70,000, right? All of a sudden, the price potential for where Bitcoin can go from here looks much more significant because gold has had such a breakout, right? And that's why I'm personally not upset when I see gold run. It only validates the thesis more of the need for hard money and why there was such a larger potential for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's bare minimum is that it reaches the same market cap as gold. And so every $1 trillion that gold casually adds to its market cap is another potential $1 trillion that eventually Bitcoin can take over. Now, here is Jack Mallers' second chart. This is the second reason here of why he thinks that the Bitcoin bull market has barely begun. Again, it's the same kind of concept. Instead of pricing Bitcoin in terms of failing American political currency units, price Bitcoin in something that is a bit stronger, right? Like the Magnificent Seven, right? Like the S&P 500, right? Like these kinds of stronger assets, right? Price it in terms of that and zoom out on a long time frame, and you realize that Bitcoin has not had nearly the euphoria it has had in previous cycles. And I think anecdotally, this is true. Not nearly as many people are expressing interest in Bitcoin now in 2025 as people were back in 2021, 4 or 5 years ago, right? I remember from personal experience, way more people were excited and interested then than they are now. Now, a lot of people have this intrigue or this debate and discussion around the Bitcoin power law, quote unquote. Personally, I think the Bitcoin power law is very interesting, especially as a bottom band. Obviously, I think that when you're pricing a power law in terms of an exponential, like the dollar, you get this failure point, which is that the dollar is not sustainable. It is not a sustainable power law. It's growing at an exponential pace because the interest accruing on our debt is exponential. But all the same, I think it is a useful framework to try to understand how hot we are running. And so if you were to apply some kind of power law with red and green bands to it for the sake of understanding where we are in relation to it, what you see is exactly this, that we should expect to be, quote unquote, roughly at this $110,000, $120,000 level. And the green band being as low as $40,000 to $60,000, and the red band being as high as $443,000, which is just insane to me to think that that's actually possible literally right now. But I guess it's possible if we're overlaying previous bubbles of Bitcoin euphoria and Bitcoin hope and Bitcoin excitement, right? It's actually now in the realm of possibility. The upside potential has literally never been higher for Bitcoin than it is right now. Of course, there's the possibility we don't reach the top of that red band. In fact, that's not my base expectation. I don't necessarily think we'll reach that, anytime soon, but we definitely could. And the point is that even though the Bitcoin price in terms of dollars looks excessively exciting, actually, when you put it in terms of gold, or you put it in terms of Magnificent Seven, or you put it in terms of the power law, it's not nearly as euphoric as what it might seem like to people like you and me in our tiny little bubble, right? It's actually much, much earlier than it would otherwise seem. And I think Jack is right with that. And again, we know this is true because we can look at the world objectively. We can just look around and see how small Bitcoin is, right? A lot of people tell me, oh, Luke, you are too bullish. You were too optimistic, because this survey said that 50 million Americans own Bitcoin. Or Luke, so many people own Bitcoin. What are you talking about? We're much later than you think. Haha, Bitcoin's going to fall down soon. But I just don't see that as the case, right? There's about $250 worth of capital out there, right? Equities, real estate, bonds, political currency, right? And Bitcoin is a very tiny portion of that, right? And keep in mind, imagine at this chart, what you're looking at is the internet in orange, and everything else are various versions of the Telegraph or physical newspapers, right? It's like the internet is not worth 2% of this larger sum total, right? It's not worth 0.2% of this larger sum total. It's worth way more. The internet is not worth 0.2% of the Telegraph. It's worth 100 times that of the Telegraph, right? By the time Bitcoin takes over this zero sum chart here of global wealth, because it's not a zero sum, will expand even larger, right? While Bitcoin will get a larger and larger share of the pie is going to grow at an increasing pace as technology has an increasing rate of advancement. So Bitcoin is not worth only $2 trillion as an asset class. The bull market hasn't even begun. It's not worth 20 trillion. It's not even worth 200 trillion. It's worth way more than $200 trillion eventually. And I would highly encourage you to enjoy the ride, because I think we have a very long ride ahead of us. I do not think we're going to be stopping at $120,000 or even $150,000 or even $200,000. I think Bitcoin is going way higher, and I think it's going way longer. I do not think the Bitcoin bull market is going to be ending next month or even in a few months after that. Maybe it could, definitely. But if it were, the drawdown is not going to be nearly as significant as it was in previous cycles, right? And this is the trade-off you have, right? Like I say all the time, everything is a trade-off. And so sure, maybe this is the top. Maybe the bull market is over. And that's going to make everybody sad. But the drawdown is not going to be 80%. We're not going back down to $20,000 a coin. We're not going to, I don't think we're doing that. That would be literally half of the lower band, the lower green band on this chart here, right? And so either way, something breaks. And that's why I'm so confident in saying that this time is different, because it genuinely is different. If the timeline is the same, like it has been with previous 4-year cycles, and we peak sometime in the second half here of 2025, then this time is different because we are not going to have an 80% drawdown, right? But if this time is the same and that we have a 70 or 80% drawdown or whatever, then we should expect this time is different because the bull market is going to last in a way longer timeline than it has previously. And so because of the way that the price has happened over the last 2.5 years, we now know, in my opinion, with a very high degree of certainty, that something is going to be different this time. The only question is what exactly is going to be different. Is the size of the drawdown going to be different? Is the length of the bull market going to be different? Is the fact that we are going to be above or below that red band is going to be different? Something's going to change now that the market makers have changed, now that the main buyers of Bitcoin has changed. The only question is what exactly is going to change. But no matter what, I would highly encourage you to find people that are not going to change. Find people that you can have be friends, right? Find a community, find a network of people that no matter the bull market or the bear market, people that you'll enjoy hanging out with, people that you enjoy sharing information and knowledge with about Bitcoin. This is something personally I'm very excited for. These are the very kinds of reasons why it doesn't really matter to me if we're in a bull market or a bear market, right? You can increase your Bitcoin net worth in either direction in a bull or bear market, right? So if you're denominating your net worth in dollars, you're going to panic and freak out if it's a bull or bear market. But if you're denominating your net worth in Bitcoin, then it doesn't really matter because you can always be increasing your Bitcoin denominated net worth. And so if you want to join this event and not only increase your Bitcoin stack, but increase your Bitcoin networking, your Bitcoin knowledge, and most importantly, Bitcoin friend group, I highly encourage you to check out this event that I'm helping organize. It's called Camp Nakamoto. It's happening this October in 2025. It's a private island. You're seeing some moving images on the screen here of what it looks like. You have the ability to either rent out in a bunkhouse cabin if you're trying to save some money, or if you want to be a little more lavish, you can rent out an entire luxury cabin of your own, as well as there's a hotel available on the mainland. You can get ferried out every day to the island. Whatever the case, whoever you are, wherever you are in the United States, highly encourage you to check out this event. In fact, we have some people coming international as well. There's about 150 slots for the island. Obviously, Livingston Island, so we have to cap it at some point. There's about 40 tickets left, so about 110, 115 of those 150 spots are already claimed. So highly encourage you to check out the information in the description below to secure your seat. Really quick here, this is the list of the people coming to the event. Natalie Brunell, Mark Moss, Larry Lepard, myself, Joe Consorti, Adam O'Brien, BJ Dichter, Dave Foley, Michelle Weekly, Texas Slim, DJ Valerie, Anders Jensen, Matthew Lisiak, Tim Kotzman, Kane McGunkin, Brandon Chile, and a couple excuse me, a couple extra surprise guests that we're still working on securing. There are some people that couldn't make it in person but are still joining us virtually to celebrate. James Lavish, Greg Foss, Ben Justman, Rob Wallace, Seb Bunny, and a few other people coming. We have some awesome surprises of crafts, family-friendly kinds of events and everything. So highly encourage you to not make the most of this Bitcoin bull market only in terms of seeing dollars and cents and Bitcoin increasing on your screen, but go out and live life. For some of you watching, that means going on a vacation with your spouse. For some of you, that means that splurging on something that you've been delaying your gratification for years, right? And for others of you, that's going to mean hanging out with like-minded individuals who you've listened to for literally dozens, if not hundreds, of hours of podcasts, right? So if that's you, and this is the way that you want to splurge and you want to celebrate the bull market and you want to celebrate life by living life with other people in a beautiful outside location in the peak fall colors of one of the most beautiful islands and lakes in the entirety of New England here in the beautiful US of A. Highly encourage you, check out the information in the description below or text the phone number on the screen. If you want to join us in October at Camp Nakamoto, text the phone number on the screen, Camp Nakamoto, and you'll get a text and a phone call, helping answer any questions you have, helping you decide if this is the kind of event for you and for your friends and loved ones. If that's not how you want to spend your Satoshis, but instead you want to accelerate the pace at which you're stacking more Satoshis, text that same phone number any questions you have about increasing your Bitcoin stack. The two ways that people are doing that the most right now, or at least expressing the most interest right now, is either by booking a call with me or somebody on my 40-person team member at the Bitcoin Advisor. Just text the phone number Stack More Bitcoin, and we'll have a conversation as soon as possible discussing how to help you increase your Bitcoin stacking goal. We have a pretty good track record of doing that. And so, obviously happy to help you brainstorm how to do that. Another thing too, is that if you have any interest in getting some exposure to Bitcoin treasury companies, or you just want a Bitcoin denominated loan at some point in the future anyway, this is currently available for our clients. This is something exclusive to clients and members of the Bitcoin Advisor. 5% interest only treasury loans, no margin call and no counterparty risk. Okay. All self-custody, no margin call. How is this possible? Multi-jurisdictional, multi-sig vaults with estate planning, right? This is the future. This is where the direction of things are going. So if you have an interest in that, especially if you're somebody that is a multi-dozen coin holder or you're a multi-deca Satoshi billionaire, right? If you've got tens or hundreds of coins, this is definitely the kind of product that's going to interest you, because it's going to be the fastest and most tax-efficient way for you to increase your Bitcoin stack, right? A small interest fee that in many cases is tax deductible, wink, wink, is going to be much more effective at deferring your taxes than paying some sort of kind of tax gain, right? So these kinds of products are really important, helping you stack your Bitcoin, increase your Bitcoin stack, and like I said, even more importantly, is getting out there and enjoying life, right? Spend a little bit more time touching grass and absorbing that sunlight, and spend just a little less time staring at the charts on the screen, even though the charts on the screen are pretty fun. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the day. Please like and subscribe to this video, and I'll see you next time.